On October 10th, 2015, we had a flange blow apart. It was a hydrogen fire. It was in our synthesis loop area, which is the highest pressure throughout the facility in the ammonia plant.
I was actually one of the maintenance technicians that bolted it up prior to the fire.
Me and my fellow operators were 15 to 20 yards from the area. And we just so happened to go in and sit down and eat lunch. The control room doors rattle and shake. What I remember vividly from that night is getting hit by debris when I stepped out of the control room.
Had somebody been close by, it would have been fatal for sure.
The flange is a critical part of the process here. It keeps the product in the pipe, so they prevent environmental releases, they prevent safety hazards, either from a fire standpoint or an employee exposure to anhydrous ammonia, syngas, which is a high hydrogen concentration, natural gas, propylene carbonate, urea, ammonium nitrate. A little over 3 years ago, when I had hired into CF Woodward, the mentality was tool tight was acceptable for most all flange closures.
Basically, you just tightened it until it stopped leaking.
I didn't like tool tight because it didn't actually accomplish the gasket crush. That's what is your sealing surface in a flange. We went back and wrote our policy that we would torque or tension all of our flanges. What can we do to modify this procedure or training? Torquing, think of it as a twisting motion, where tensioning is a pulling motion. Ultimately, it does the same thing. It puts tension in the bolt. It was about a year into the process when we had the fire. And that made us take a step back and look at holistically what we were doing with these flange closures. This absolutely was a failure across multiple levels. We torqued it versus tensioning it. Our studs could not actually handle the torque that was put on them to keep the gasket crush.
The bolts that we had used to tighten this flange had been used several other times, and the bolts that were reused was the wrong type of bolt material for the process.
The gasket that was used was actually reused. It's already been crushed. Its surfaces have been warped.
We had gaskets that were probably 20 years old and just hanging on a wall full of dust, and now we keep them in a climate-controlled environment to ensure that there's no defects.
What came about from this incident was the closure form packet, and it's a detailed list of things that have to be looked at for it to be done right every time. So you look at gaskets, the materials, the bolts, the nuts, the type of application. It tells you, proper torque specs, proper or tensioning.
This one sheet for reliability gives that technician all the information he would need right at his fingertips. We went back to the manufacturers of the gaskets that we commonly use, and that's what we created our standardized torque tables from. For a non-standard flange, we'll go back to the manufacturer or engineering firm for the piece of equipment and the gasket manufacturer to use their recommendation of the gasket crush to calculate what our torque or tension needs to be.
The closure form is stepped out in a way that I could take my 12-year-old son, and if he knew how to run torquing equipment, he could torque it right. It has signature spots. The maintenance technician that takes it apart, inspects it and looks at it, they sign off. The guy torquing it up signs off that it was done according to the spec.
CF takes the long-term view with safety. That's their number one core value. The closure packet encompasses that value.
We took all the departments in CF, from the procurement department, the maintenance department, engineering, and we all looked at different aspects of how that affects making up flanges and ways that we can make it better.
Putting a flange together correctly is absolutely part of a safety culture and reliable culture.
We took what happened at Woodward and created a form that anybody can use, a standard that every plant can use to eliminate any potential for hazard.
This can absolutely happen to someone else and they might not be so lucky. We've shifted our philosophy to doing it right, looking at it from start to finish, looking at all individual components and making sure we get it right the first time. We always try and look at that long term. What does this get us, not today, not tomorrow, but for the future of the site? What does this gain us by taking this holistic, long approach to these problems?
The culture change that we had wasn't a Band-Aid solution. It was about doing it right for the long view.
At CF,
we do it right.
CF Woodward, we do it right.